Using semi-automated tools for SQL injection. Well, there will be certain situations which will be humanly impossible for you to test thousands and thousands of payloads with. Think about a login page. If you're bypassing a login page and they have used certain filters, it will not be easy for you to try all the possible combinations. That is where semi-automated tools come into the picture. Again, remember, these are just semi-automated. They are not fully automated. You still need to understand why SQL injection occurs, where do they occur, how do they occur, and what is the reasoning behind everything. And accordingly, you can use them to automate the heavy lifting. One of the tools which I personally like is called Burp Suite. There are alternatives like OS Zap. However, Burp Suite is a good and reputed tool. You can download it from postfigure.net. Just download the community edition and install it. It's available for all the operating systems. It's a simple next install, so I will not cover that part. In community edition, you cannot save the data, so you always have to start a temporary project. That's fine with us. You can start with the default of burps. That's also okay. Just start it. And now burp has started. Now there are many ways to use it. Everyone has a preference. However, in these new versions, they have started to make a built-in browser. If you go to this proxy, you will see there is a browser here. Open browser. This is a Chromium browser, and it's a specially configured one because it works with Burp Suite out of the box. Now here, just make sure you do turn off this intercept, because you can see it automatically starts capturing a lot of requests, and we don't really need this. Just turn this off. Now go to your browser and open whatever you want to open. So I'll open my target, which is localhost, and here I'll go to login, and here I'll put certain username and password like Sagar as username and my pass as password. I see it doesn't really work. Of course, the password was wrong. So we were not able to log in. That is fine. We can go to burp, and if you go to HTTP history, you will see all the requests that have passed through burp using this specific browser. It may be hard to find that request in these much requests, so you can go to the target tab, and it's the graphical tree view. We are using localhost, and we are using login.php. It is interesting that this is not the right request. However, there is one more login.php which has certain %20 in that. But this is the right request. You can see username equals Sagar, password equals my pass. This is what I typed. So this is our request. Again, there are two requests, login.php, login.php %20 something. That is fine with us. We can send this request to repeater. Now you can see the repeater highlights, and now you can do whatever you want with this request and send it from here, and the response will come over in this window. So first of all, let me try, instead of my pass, let me try the right password, which is Bansal. Let's try to send it. Now let's click on render to see how it works in the browser, and we were able to log in. As you can see, login. If I use a wrong password, we're still able to log in, which is interesting. The reason behind that is because this website uses cookies. Once you're logged in, the next request which you send doesn't matter because you have never pressed this logout button. So instead of pressing the logout button, which is practically not possible since it's just a response, I can go ahead and remove this cookie at all. Once there is no cookie, the website doesn't recognize me that I am logged in or not. It just processes the request. Let's try again. Now you can see I'm not logged in. If I type the right password, if I press send, I am logged in. If I again type the wrong password, I am not logged in. Though the request is working fine, However, I would suggest that you remove these additional characters from it. It doesn't really matter and it won't affect your testing, but the file name is login.php, not login.php and these characters. So due to some processing, it certainly picks up these characters in the request. That is fine, you can safely remove them. And now this is a perfect post request going to login.php using HTTP 1.1. Again, if you didn't knew this, if you didn't remove that, still the request is working fine and you can use it. But I like to be a professional. Now we know that this request is working, so instead of using the right password and username, I'm just going to give a invalid username and a invalid password. Again, let's send it once more to confirm. It's working fine. Now we can send this thing to intruder. So send to intruder. You see the intruder tab highlights. I'll go here and it tells me what are you attacking. I am attacking localhost, that's correct. On port 80, that's correct, because I'm not using HTTPS. If I'm using HTTPS, then I'll have to put port 443 here or some other port depending on the configurations. But since I'm using HTTP, so I'll make sure this is untick here. Now let's go to positions, and the great thing about burp is it automatically positions everything. You see, these things are marked in green and they have been positioned automatically. That's the auto mode of burp suite. You see the auto here. However, in certain cases you may want to add something. Like if I want to add a position myself where I want to do SQL injection, I may want to go ahead and select this and I'll say add here. And now this is also marked as a position. I can clear all of these by pressing the clear button, and I can again just say auto to automatically select the right positions, which burp suite does very well. There are 4 modes: sniper, battery ram, pitchfork and cluster bomb. All of them have different purposes. Sniper, for instance, will try 2 payloads, right? It's trying payload number 1 here, which will be my SQL injection code here, and then my code over here. But sniper will do that one by one. So for example, it will try my SQL injection here and keep the password as BANSA, whatever we have given in the input in the request. So it will only change one payload at a time. Then once that works, it will keep this as it is and it will change the password, which is the payload 2. So it will change payload 1, keep the second as it is, then it will keep the first as it is and change the payload 2. So it's one by one. That is what sniper is. Again, all of these 4 have different purposes. Battery RAM uses both of them together. So if I use battery RAM, it will change both of the payloads at the same time. You can study more about this on Portswigger website. It's irrelevant for this lesson. I'll just go with sniper. In payloads, you can select the position. Since sniper uses just one position, you can use one. And there are single list and other stuff here. One of them is brute forcer, where you can specify a brute forcing combination. We can specify a character list, minimum length and maximum length. But we are not brute forcing a password, right? Technically we are, but not through a brute forcer. We are doing it through SQL injections. So instead, let's go with a simple list. And you can load a list of test cases, or you can add a list here. Now I already have a list, so I'll click on load and I'll load my payloads, and you see we have certain payloads in this list. You can create your own list. It's just a txt file, or you can just go ahead and add something like here. I can just click on add and that'll add it to the list. But I'll just stick with my list, which I just loaded. Now there are 10 payloads in my list, and since sniper uses one payload at a time, for both of the positions, there will be 20 requests and 21 to be precise, because it will even generate a baseline request, which will be using both of the parameters that we provided. So it will just go ahead and send this request as it is. That will be the baseline request. You can go ahead and click on start attack. And it gives you the warning. It's the free version, the community one. It will be slow. That's fine. We just have 21 requests. Again, see, the first one is always the baseline request. There is no position used. It's like the blank request. You see, the one which we gave. And then there are all the payloads that it has tried. For the position 1 it has tried this, then for the position 2 it has tried this over here. But how to define which one worked and which one didn't? Well, you may go ahead and see what is the difference in these requests. All of them are having the same response code. I don't see any error or timeouts. But here in length, you see all of the lengths are different. You can go ahead and click on response and render, and you can see what was the response of the request. None of these worked. However, if we see these 4000s, you see it has worked. So now these 4000 requests are all working. But there is much cleaner way to do that. I'll just close this. And instead there is fourth tab here, which is options. I'll click on this. In options there are many, but we can set this grep match option. Just clear all of these. Make sure this flag is ticked and add something like welcome. Press add and now it is set. The reason I have added welcome is I want to flag all those requests which have the word welcome. So basically, when I start this attack now, you will see it will start flagging the requests which have the word welcome, just like this one and this one and this one. Now once the attack is finished, which just happened, I can go ahead and filter it with the flags. So all of these 4 requests are the one which are resulting in a successful SQL injection. I can see if I go to response and render, this is the word which I just filtered for. When there is successful login, it says welcome back. So I just flagged any response which has welcome word in it. That is why we are getting these flags. And now you know that these 4 payloads will work for your SQL injections. That is how you use semi-automated tools to uplift the hard work and do SQL injections.